Okay, this is going to be your 1-minute warm-up for your Q&A mock. Ready? When you left the house that night, who was driving and where did you go?
I was driving and we proceeded out Carousel Road, and my brother there threw the lacquer thinner can out, into a brush pile, which was, I figured, too close to the scene of the crime. And I had to make an about face in the car and go back and pick up the lacquer thinner can, which was subsequently taken to my house. And then my brother put it in his car and took it with some other stuff off in the truck and eventually dumped it in a Dempsey dumpster miles away.
And did you go to work the next morning?
Yes, sir.
And what did you do when you went to work the next morning? Who were you working for the following morning?
Mr. Palters. We were working on Mr. Palters' house.
That was the one that had the fire previously?
Yes, sir.
And did Mr. Palters come by that day?
Yes, sir.
And did you have any conversation? Did you hear any conversation that anyone may have had with Mr. Palters?
Yes, sir. I heard Mr. Palters tell my brother David that it was a very nice job. It could have been more complete, that it could have burnt to the ground, but all in all, it was a very nice job.
And are you aware, were you privy to any conversation? Okay, and so this is your 225 Q&A for your mock. Your proper names are Mrs. Bender, Metairie Road, West Esplanade, The Oaks, Ford, and Taurus. This is your 225 Q&A mock. Ready? For 5 minutes. During the marriage, did you have a checking account?
No, my wife did, but I didn't.
Were the family's obligations paid from her checking account?
Certainly, with my money.
So you would take your paycheck and put it in her checking account?
No, I just cash the check and give her the cash,
Okay, I understand. So she took care of all the bills during the marriage?
Pretty much so.
Were there any bills that she didn't take care of?
No, I don't think so.
Do you know if she was ever delinquent on making payments?
Sometimes, probably.
Do you know if she ever had creditors threatening to take stuff back or threatening to cancel the account?
No, never.
Another ground rule that I didn't get to is that we've got to let each other finish talking, because if we talk over each other, the court reporter has a little trouble getting all of the words down.
Okay, I'll be more careful.
Let me go back to the financial affairs during the marriage. The reason I'm asking this question is that Mrs. Bender has now said that you did have money problems in the marriage and that the cause of these financial problems was your fault mostly.
Well, specifically, what did she have to say on that?
Well, she stated that your loan at the business was constantly overdue, that the payments weren't being made, and that was causing financial stress on the marriage. Is that true?
No, due to the fact that the payments came out of my check.
How about after you left the business? Since you were still married after you left the business?
Well, then maybe. But as long as I was working there, the money was constantly coming out of the check bi-weekly. The money is never seen,
At the time of your divorce, where were you living?
On Metairie Road, 8222 Metairie Road.
What's the zip code for that?
I have no idea off the top of my head.
How long had you lived there?
Approximately about 8 years.
That would be since 1987, 88?
Yeah, around up in there.
Prior to the Metairie Road address, where did you live?
1819 West Esplanade.
How long had you lived there?
About 5 years, from about 80 to probably going to Metairie Road.
That would make that 7 years?
Well, that was the only 2 houses we was in.
I see what you're saying. Did you ever have any trouble making the rent at 1819 West Esplanade?
No.
How about at the Metairie Road address?
What about it?
You had some trouble making rent there?
Yes, I did have difficulty making the rent.
Did the landlord ever threaten to evict you?
At the end of the marriage, at the end of it, when we was about to divorce, things got bad and he was threatening, They was selling the houses, so we had to move away.
Were you having trouble making the rental payments because of the marital difficulties?
Just the marriage. It was just stressful. Just not wanting to pay it at the time,
I'm going to go back to this question again because there seems to have been some financial problems towards the end of the marriage. Were the money problems that the cause of your marital strife or your marital problems?
No.
To what extent would you attribute your poor management of the financial problems you were having?
Rephrase that. I don't understand that.
Let me ask it again. That was a real bad question. Let me ask it again. To what extent was your financial neglect a cause of your marital money problems?
On a level from what?
To the extent that your financial neglect caused your and Mrs. Bender's financial problems, your inability to pay the rent.
How much bearing did that have on the problem?
Yes, or on your inability to pay rent.
You have got to explain.
We'll try this again. Mrs. Bender has claimed that the reason she was having trouble paying bills towards the end of the marriage is that because of your financial responsibility, that you weren't giving enough money to help her to pay the bills. To what extent is that true?
To be honest here, I gave her the money to pay the bills, so if they wasn't paid, it was on her part.
At the time of your separation in 94, you would have been in the house on Metairie Road.
That's correct, Metairie Road.
Did Mrs. Bender leave that house for a time during the time of the separation?
Yes, she did, that's correct.
Where did she live at that time? Do you remember?
An apartment complex, the Oaks, I think.
During the course of your relationship, did you ever have anything stolen from your house?
Over at the other house?
At either residence, either the Metairie Road residence or the West Esplanade residence.
Yeah, it was broken into once.
Which residence was that?
Metairie Road.
What was taken from that residence? Do you remember?
What did they take? It wasn't a whole lot. I don't really recall. Because the way the house was made, they pushed the china cabinet down. They took some shoes and some clothes from downstairs. It wasn't a whole lot. Some kids did it, you know?
Did you have insurance on that house?
No.
Did you file an insurance claim of any type?
No, I just called the police and they got a statement.
During your marriage, did either of you own a vehicle?
Yes, of course.
How many cars did you own between you?
Approximately 5.
Were any of those ever stolen or broken into?
They were correct.
Did you file any insurance claims in connection with that?
With the Ford, I did.
What year would that have been?
The Ford, I had a 79 Taurus and they stole it. And what else?
Did you file an insurance report for the Ford?
No, I just got it rebuilt, but that was it. I believe the Ford is the only automobile that was broken into.
You mentioned a Ford.
Correct?
Was there a theft related to that Ford? Was it broken into or stolen?
No, not on the Ford, no.
During the course of your marriage, were either of you ever involved in any auto accidents?
Yes, I was.
Did you file an insurance claim with regard to that accident?
Yeah,
What happened with that claim?
I got paid off.
Was that a property damage claim?
No, injury and property.
Did you hire an attorney to represent you?
Yes, sir, I did.
Good luck.